this video tutorial, I'll show you how to use the S1000D Foundation Suite. The Foundation Suite helps you set up a new S1000D project. You can use it to define all of your data module codes and create the XML files that you can import into a CSDB, such as STL's Contenta S1000D. You can also use it to create applicability modules. In order to get the most out of this tutorial, you should be familiar with S1000D terms and concepts. The Foundation Suite is available as a standalone program, and it's also included with Contenta S1000D. If you have the standalone version, you can launch the executable and extract it to a file location of your choice. A license key will be required, and you can obtain this by using the link listed here. If you have Contenta S1000D 5.4 or 5.5, you will find the Foundation Suite on your file system where you have the Contenta software installed. The Foundation Suite can be used for only one project at a time and one issue of the specification at a time. So if you want to start a new project, you need to have a new instance of the program. With the standalone version, you can extract it to a new folder location and obtain a new license key. With the Contenta delivered version, it's recommended to make an original copy of the folder and then recopy this for each new instance. In either case, the program will be located in a folder called Foundation Suite with the files shown here. I'll start by launching the Foundation Suite. You have several drop-down menus, and from here you can access the various dialog windows or forms where you fill in the information for creating the metadata in the data modules as well as the data modules themselves. Under the Help drop-down, you have the online documentation, and under the contents here you have a title for each of the options that you'll find in the drop-down menus. If you click on any one of these, it provides an explanation about all of the fields in that particular dialog window. You can keep the help doc open while you're working in the Foundation Suite, or you can close it and then just open it when you need to. To start a new project, you go to the File menu and select New Project. This is where you define your identification and status section defaults. This option is only available at first, and then once you do a save of that section, the new project is no longer available. But you can modify the Ident and Status section under the Startup Paths menu. So I'll get started here with my new project. All of the fields that have asterisks in them you must identify. So we'll start by doing our specification revision, then our model identification code, and then your project name. And now you have to specify which SNS you want to use. This is pre-populated with all of the SNSs that are listed in the S1000D spec. So we'll select this first one, Air Vehicle Engines and Equipment. Then we'll specify our default security level. And then I'll just use the default values for unit and assembly length and disassembly code variant length. Next, I'm going to go to the export control statement. Here I'll click Edit, and in the export registration window I'll make a selection. And then enter an export control statement. This is the kind of thing you can just copy and paste in here, and then do a save and close. And then it populates all of the other required fields for export registration. Now down here at the bottom, I'll need to fill in the cage code, or I should fill this in. But what I'm going to do instead is go to the cage code manager, and then we'll come back to this. So I'll save this and close it. Now notice under File menu, I no longer have the startup project. But if I need to modify my identification and status defaults, I can just go here and do that. But for now, we'll go to the cage code manager. Here you can create up to 24 cage codes. So I'll enter my cage code here. Happens to be the cage code for STL, and I could enter more if I needed to. Now down here I'm going to highlight this row, and then I'm going to set this as the default cage code. So I'll click this and save it, close it. Now when I go back to the Ident and Status Defaults Manager, you can see that it has populated the cage code field with the cage code that I created. So we'll close this and move on to the next option, which is the Information Code Manager. And again, this is pre-populated with information codes from the S1000D specification. You can add codes to this, or you can modify these codes. If you right click, it allows you to add a new information code, or you could right click and you could add a variant, or you could edit an existing information code. The next choice under Startup Path is Publications Manager. You can select any of these options in any order, but this is the next one, so we'll open up the Publications Manager. Now here you select which publications you want to have in your project. So we'll go to the predefined list from the S1000D specification, and you can choose multiple information sets here. So I'll choose AMM, and we'll choose an aircraft operation. So I will accept that, and now both of these are listed here. Now for each of these publications or information sets, you can associate a schema with a given information code. And this box shows the list of codes defined in the Information Code Manager that we just looked at. So here you associate schemas with the information codes that you intend to use in a given publication. So in the AMM, I might want to have code 130 associated with the Descript schema, which is the default, so I will accept that. But in the crew information set, I might want to associate 130 with the crew schema. So I'll now select crew, and I will accept that. You'll need to do this for all of the information codes that you plan to use, and they'll be listed down here at the bottom. I went ahead and added normal operations, inspections, remove procedures, and the IPD. So now I'm ready to save this and close it. For now, we'll skip by applicability, but we'll come back to that, and we'll go to the SNS Manager. Now again, this is pre-populated with system, subsystem, subsystem codes from the S1000D spec. In this case, we chose air vehicle engines and equipment when we were in the identification and status section. So those are the codes that are shown here. You can add to or modify these codes if you wish. You just right click and you can add a subsystem, or you can right click and edit or add a unit or assembly. Alright, so if you've made modifications, you would save this. We'll go ahead and close this, and now our final step is to actually create the data modules. So I'll go to the Project Manager and the Data Module Builder. The first thing I have to do is choose which of the two information sets I want to build data modules for. So I'll choose the crew and then enter a system difference code, and we'll use the defaults here for the export and the item location code. Then I'll go find a system or subsystem. So we'll choose 74 and distribution, and then I pick an information code here, and I'll say OK. And now I've actually created an XML file or a data module. So for the same system and subsystem, I'll go ahead and create a module for inspections, for remove procedures, install procedures, and an IPD. And all of the data modules that I am creating are listed down here. Now, where are these actual data modules? Well, if I close this and bring up my file system, in the Out folder, there'll be a folder for the information set or the publication set that I chose, and here's those 5 data modules. Now, if I open one of those data modules in the standard text editor, you can see that it's populated with all of the metadata or information that we set up in the ident and status section. And then down near the bottom we have a content section, and this is ready for authoring by your technical authors. So at this point you could go ahead and import or upload these data modules into your CSDB. Lastly, the Foundation Suite allows you to define applicability attributes. You can access the ACT, PCT, and CCT Manager in the Startup path or under Configuration Manager. In the ACT, you can define your applicability attributes. Here's one that is used in the bike dataset that I've already added, and I will add another one here. And then save and close. Now I'll open the PCT, the product cross-reference table, and here you see the 2 attributes, serial number and type, that I defined in the ACT. So now you can list the actual serial numbers of the various products that you have in your project. So I'll go ahead and close this. And then finally we'll go to the CCT. This is where you define conditions such as environmental factors, or you can use it to define service bulletins or technical orders. There are various ways to configure a condition cross-reference table. The top portion is for defining your condition type list, like service bulletins. The bottom portion defines your condition list for those types. For example, you might have a type for service bulletin and then a list of the different service bulletins for your project. At any point when you're filling in this applicability information, you can go to the Configuration Manager, let me close this, and build the actual applicability data modules. If I go to ACT and do a build, I can now view the XML for the ACT data module. And you'll see it has the information here that I entered, the serial number and the type and so forth. And you can do this repeatedly as you're filling out the ACT, PCT, and CCT. So if you want to go back to the ACT Manager, you need to close this and then close out of the builder, and then you can go back and make more modifications in the ACT. The actual XML files that were created are in your file system. So those would be in the Out folder, and they're listed directly in the Out folder. In this case, I only did a build for the ACT, so I only have that particular module. And just like the other data modules that we created, you can go ahead and upload this into your CSDB. Well, that concludes this tutorial. If you'd like more information about SDL's S1000D products, you can go to the SDL website listed here.